psychologically, mentally, if you're in the same spot over and over and over again, we know it's like, when you're a strength coach and it's preseason and you're in camp of football and every day's Monday. Like every day. And think about it, you train the whole summer, you let the guys come in on Saturdays because they want to, right? And then you're like, man, I'm so tired. But you asked to be there and you're still tired.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Cheeky Midweeky, where we are making strength and conditioning not boring anymore. And we do that by highlighting the practitioners that make this the best field to work in college athletics or professional athletics, whatever. Today, we got Mike Chatman on the show. Mike and I worked together for multiple years. Mike, you've been everywhere. Now you're at LSU. You're back home, man. Congratulations. We talked about that at the CSCCa. Congratulations. Thanks for coming on the show and talking, brother.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's good to be back home working with some good people. Director Mel Moore here is phenomenal. The strength staff is cool. I'm really enjoying it.
The thing that we texted about that I really wanted to get you on is, and you've said this before, you're like, hey, in terms of programming, I ain't the guy. Like, that's not my, now it's not that you're bad, but you're like, listen, my thing is I can form relationships, and your ability, like when you left Towson, if you want to share that or not, but I remember how upset the athletes were that you were leaving. You've made impact with all of your athletes. You make impact with coaches. How have you been able to do that? And what is your recipe for success for other coaches to learn about?
Yeah. First, I think I'm a better programmer than I give myself credit for.
It's about time you said it. Because thank you. You finally said it then, because you used the dog on yourself. Those were your words. That wasn't me. You used to say that.
I take the whole ego thing very, I always try to say undersell, over deliver. But I think it all comes down to with the heart of it, where you are, what you're coming from, and why you're there. You want to impact lives. You want to make a difference, and you want them to buy into who you are. And so the culture piece of it is really important. But people don't really know what culture is. People think culture is like jumping down, pumping your fist, waving your towel. And my idea of culture is like getting to know you, who you are, what you're about, how you learn, what pushes your buttons. And I think that has been the biggest thing for me as far as getting in there. And whatever I am prescribing programming wise, for the guys or girls to be able to go all out in it. And so I find that intent is probably the most important part of every program that a lot of people are missing, because they're like, oh yeah, we're going to do this new thing, this whatever, this contrast of all these things. And I'm like, man, training is training, right? So you do it right, do it with intent, progress it, do it right, do it with intent, progress it. If it looks wrong, it's wrong. Don't give it a new name. It's still wrong. and that's what it comes down to for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to keep it as simple as possible. I am what I am. I am who I am, and I don't try to be anything else.
One of the things, speaking off of that, when Kate was on the show, she's like, you and her were talking, and she said that you said something along the lines of like, when you were interviewing, you said that like about fit, like, hey, you're not going to hire me because of my program, like my belief in this movement or that. It's like, am I a good fit to work with your athletes? How did you have that enlightened moment? Because that's never something that I would have said. I wish I would have and learned about, but like, how did you get that mindset to be able to just speak that frankly and connect that well with a head coach?
As you know, I've had some hard head coaches, but you know what it is when you go for a job, and I think a lot of times people put too much emphasis on a logo. I mean, I started off in a junior college in the SWAC where no one cared anything about what it was, right? Like you did everything, right? And there was no ego with it, and you just worked and did your stuff. But what you learn is in those environments where maybe there's less resource and less people, you get to really shine at what you're good at. So I think in your moment of looking for success and trying to get somewhere, it's more important to be in a place where you can show what you are and be who you are, because that's going to provide you success, as opposed to going to a place that's been rolling for 30 years and now you're just a cog in a machine, and now you have to fit that. So, hey, coach, like, what do you believe in? What do you want? I know in the interview process, I believe it's a two-way interview. You're interviewing me to see if I'm fit for you, and I'm interviewing you to see if I'm a fit there. And I don't think I've ever told. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when I was at Southern Miss, we won about negative. We won about -6 games that year. The kids were amazing. I turned down the Detroit Pistons to stay at Southern Miss. I promised the seniors I was going to stay.
Wow.
And that place is the best for my development. I got to learn how to be in charge. I got to learn how to work with multiple coaches. I got to learn how to impact different groups of people. And it's funny because I turned the job down, and then the assistant GM calls me the next day. He's like, "Are you sure about this?" I was like, "Absolutely." And so the interview on that side, it wasn't a fit for me. The director in that interview said something to me that really resonated with me as a red flag. He's like, "Yeah, like, hey, if we come in and train, these guys are sore. We can't have that." I was like, "Well, if you know me, and we get in that weight room, they're gonna be sore." So that's obviously not a fit. And so, was that a hard decision to turn down that prestige and that finance? For sure. But did it work out in the long run? Absolutely. So, is it long term or short term you're trying to live for? What do you value? Or are you willing to stand on your values and kind of go through that? So, that's kind of an example of kind of how I do and kind of what I believe.
You also, I remember you saying this because you did turn down another position in the NBA when you were at Towson. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing that you told Joe and I was everything that glitters isn't always gold.
Yeah, man. Hey, them golden handcuffs will get you, man. You get these jobs, you're making a lot of money, and you may be miserable where you are, but you got the golden handcuffs because nobody's gonna pay you the same amount of money. Look, man, don't go just to go. Go because you want to be there. Go because you can thrive. Go because so you can see yourself where you want to be, not where you are right now. Because the check feels good today, but in 4 years when you're miserable and it affects your home life because now your wife and kids are having bad days because you're coming home upset, was it really worth it?
Ooh.
And I think that's the bigger picture of what we deal with. You can chase some things, but are you chasing the right things? And in my mind, I am chasing impact. I am chasing um, the ability to develop long-term relationships with guys where 10 years from now, they still talk to me. And I think that is the engine that makes what I do drive on top of the amount of study I do put into other stuff, the S&C, X's and O's that I work on. But I think that is the thing that drives it the most.
Taking a quick break from the show to talk to you about one of our sponsors, TeamBuildr. TeamBuildr has been my online software platform choice since 2019. Been using it at Towson, using it at Goldfinch, and use it with my online remote clients. You can learn more about them in the link down below. TeamBuildr is also part owner in the Plyomat, which will allow you to get quick, valid, and reliable jump data, jump height, ground contact time, and reactive strength index in just seconds. They are part owner of Plyomat, so you can check them out in the link down below as well. Building off that, how do you do the long term in today's world of transfer portal? And maybe you don't have a guy for as long. Like, I mean, when you were at Towson, like you had guys that were okay, they're with you for 4 years and they were developmental, like whoever they were. But do you still get that opportunity in today's world?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, people will say no, but if you operate in a purely transactional manner, you're going to get purely transactional returns. Relationships are investment and returns. All right. So I'm here to invest in you all the way around. All right. It's no different than this. Think about this. Let's say you're a high level strength coach and you get one and done. So what's the difference? It's not. Could I get close enough to you and impact in that time that I had you? So the meals at the house, the rides to the barbershop, time hanging out, me asking you about the tats, what they mean, learn about your sister, your brother, your mother, your dad, your issues that you have. Am I helping you through? Am I helping you through who you are as a person? All right. Like, what are you outside of basketball? What are you outside of sport? People don't remember that when people only see you as a commodity. And so the one thing that's really important to me, and it's in every recruiting presentation I do, I have a slide that says, develop the player, mentor the man.
Mm.
And you can't fix a broken player if the man is in shambles. And so a lot of times you get a bunch of men who've been treated as and women too, treated as a skill set. You are a shooter. You are, a setter. You are X, Y, and Z. No, they are a person. And when I'm dealing with the person, or helping the person get better, the player gets better. And I think there's a psychological side to training, a physiological side to training, and people spend way too much time giving a shit about what lift you're doing and how fast you're running instead of putting up the people. Because I've seen some really bad Olympic lifts. I've seen some really crappy med ball throws, and I've seen some really poor sprint mechanics. But I tell you this: if you can teach, you can get their attention. It'll look like it's supposed to look. And so that's the approach I take to it. Um, it's not just the what, it's the how. And I live in the how.
Within your living in the how, what was harder? And I'm not like being at the Southern Miss, the smaller schools where you're doing so many different things. Towson, you're running a department, trying to do all the different things and train athletes versus one location, one team, super dialed in, the cog in the wheel versus I got to get a lot of things done. And I'm not trying to put anything with you in LSU now, like just from a 10,000 foot perspective, looking back on your career.
Man, that's a hard question. Each of them had different challenges. I find that when you get to certain levels with people who think they have certain amounts of knowledge and experience, they know the way. And I think you can say this because you've been with me. I don't act like I have all the answers. I'll ask a question in a heartbeat. I just talked about me letting our former restricted earning guys look at my program because I think it's brilliant, like Joe Alexander. But
He's so happy you just said his name, by the way.
And that sounds like Joe and Cam Davidson look over everything I do, and it's just because why would you not include smart people in your process? There's wisdom in a multitude of counsel, correct? So let me get my counselor correct. You know what I'm saying? Let me get it right. But back to your question, when you get to this level and you get to higher levels, and everybody's like, well, I'm a rehab specialist, and I'm a this, and I'm a that. I'm like, bro, rehab is low level training, right?
Yes.
Step in between, return to play is the same thing. So in all things, how about we all sit in a room? Hey, what are you good at? What are you good at? Hey, I'm happy in here. I'm happy in there. I'm happy there. And have no ego about it. Hey, you go and do your thing. I'm going to watch and learn. When it's something about it, you watch and learn. And then what happens over the course of years, you build a really strong, really sound performance team because not everyone's feeding off of their strength. And things that were something that's your strength that wasn't my strength, right, now get stronger because we're feeding off of each other. I got better technology because I worked with you, right? I like to clang and bang weight and move well, right? You were really good at being able to take data and be organized. That is not my thing. I'm not an honest human being. Like Aaron kept me honest. You know what I'm saying? Like he kept me like, hey, you said you would do this at this time because I'll be saying something and I'll be like, I'm like, ooh, squirrel, and I'm gone. That's just how I operate. Like my brain's just always rolling like that. So like feeding off of each other is such a big part. So I find that as I've gone, the reason I've kind of avoided going to certain levels is because of I don't want to be the weight room guy. Like I love sports psych, I love sports psychologists, I love all that. Kids go to who they trust when it comes down. So when things go bad, hey, why didn't you call me? Because they called me and I didn't have much time. I got to you when I could, And so I think that's where we start getting too specialized. Not saying we should ignore that because by all means, like those checks and balances and coverage that you need to make sure your career okay are really important. But there are times where we all need to step back and let someone step forward and help us and be okay being helped.
I'm going to take a break from the serious questions and ask you about the whiteboard because you used to love big old whiteboards and that thing behind you is massive and gorgeous. Did you put that in there or did they have it for you?
So when I got here, it was here, but it's literally like 8 feet of whiteboard. And you know me.
I do know you. That's literally why I brought it up.
When I get going, I'll have that master fill from top to bottom, all types of pictures and graphs and stuff. But yeah, that's my baby. I enjoy it. I almost took it down because I thought it was obnoxious, but I was like, anything that speaks to me is a nice, huge whiteboard.
Well, I mean, the number of times we all used to have, whiteboard sessions, like that was one of the things that we always, that I look back on Towson and remember was like how we would chop it up and talk about different things. And yeah, utilize a whiteboard, and a big old whiteboard is fantastic. That's why I got one kind of behind me too, that it's not as big as yours, but it definitely helps just kind of organize your thoughts.
Yeah. I have that one. I have like a little small one. I have like three of them. The
You
guy's like, here goes his whiteboards again. Facts. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Okay. So everybody else too. What? Not only do we have really, really big ones, like I'm talking. I mean, ours was at least 6 feet tall, 4 feet wide. But you made sure that you bought all of us with the department money. Like we all had our own whiteboard, so we could do things if we needed to too.
Yeah. Yeah. So gotta have your creativity. It's like your sketch pad, your strength coach sketch pad.
I like that. Diving back into more serious topics in terms of learning, you had kind of dubbed yourself it maybe, but foot, like you love the foot, and you had a thing of the foot, and you kind of really you started from the foot up, and I learned a lot about the foot from you. How and why did that start, and where has your learning kind of gone in the last, I mean, shoot, we haven't worked together in 5 years.
Mhm.
So like over the last 5 years, how's that gone?
Taking a quick break from the show to talk to you about one of our sponsors, Hawkin Dynamics. I've had Hawkin Dynamics for multiple years, dating back to my time at Towson, and still utilize them here at Goldfinch when I'm training athletes in Iowa. Hawkin Dynamics makes it simple to be able to get input to find out what's going on underneath the hood with your athletes. Whether it's lower body assessment, upper body assessments, you want reliable data to find out how the athlete is putting force into the ground so you can be able to accurately return an athlete from an injury, and you can also find out how the athlete is producing force to check how your training is working. Check out Hawkin Dynamics in the link down below.
Todd Wright got me into the foot. So at first, everything I said, I learned from him. So I had no original thoughts. But as time has gone on, I really got into shoes, putting athletes in the right shoes, understanding toe boxes, like what shoe fits what person best, and you'll find that like there's a ton of foot dysfunction in America in general for the type of shoes we wear. But within our athletic population, it's amazing. You like take a kid out of shoe and say stand on one foot, and he can't. Then he goes out and like does a swim move on a 290-pound offensive lineman and sacks a quarterback. And so just wonders, you're like, what are we missing with the low level things? But a lot of the things you think about tracking, like joint tracking, um, different things that mechanically start at the foot and work their way up, like it's hard to ignore. So we do a foot workshop every day, 5 to 7 minutes, and it's different things. It could be toe spreading, could be keyboards with your toes, could be different things for the arch. But we will attack that foot really, really well. And prior to getting here, we have had very, very low amount of ankles things because I think the foot, the eyes, and the hands, how you perceive the world around you. They lead the proprioceptors, and the proprioceptors find the muscles and all that kind of stuff. So giving it a nice solid foundation and the strength that it needs to do whatever it needs to do. I've really gotten into the spring ankle stuff and built a ton of stuff off the spring ankle stuff that I've been kind of working on that I was gonna put out at some point, but like I always forget to video it because I get excited. But it's amazing. Like week 3 here, one of the guys comes up to me, I'm like, "How's training going?" He goes, "Man, my ankles are getting strong." I was like, I was hoping we talk about your body fat or something. Cool. I can really move the cradle now. But like they get into it, right? Like when like the cradle, like I'm really moving the cradle. Like they get to the weirdest little things. But that's kind of where it is right now, and I keep diving down and just keep realizing how important the foot is.
Are you
And
guys?
how,
Oh, keep going, sorry.
and how important shoes are. I mean, man, like especially in basketball, because you do it like, hey man, I love Kobe Bryant. Yeah, but you're 6'10", 270. You may not need to wear his shoe. Let's find someone who looks like you. How about Joel Embiid shoe? So it's like you try like they don't understand that shoes are made for foot types and foot types change. And even like if you look at Kevin Durant's shoe from And I just, because I have a lot of them from when he started his career to now, the shoe now is thicker, more rigid to match the foot, things that he's gone through over his career. And so if you can follow those things, I think it gives you a really good understanding of things and how you can apply it to sport. Um, a lot of people love to do a lot of exercises or whatever, but I try to make sure we do exercise that's local. They would take them and do something global and do something global with speed to not be able to use it and let the brain know, hey, we can access and hold this position and move to this position. And so that's kind of where I've evolved to now. Um, I have a foot right here.
There it is.
So
Same one, right?
same one. So I have a foot and a hip now, but it's important to me. I love taking the guys and like pointing and teaching them about their stuff and kind of educate them. But yeah,
You still utilizing the tri stretches to help them understand all that?
sure did, sure do. Like we travel with them. We use them pre-lift, pre-game, pre-practice. It's probably the most utilized piece of equipment we have. I always have them with me. I just think it's inversion, eversion, can do some other things. I wish I was smart enough to like build my own and add some different positions to it because it's such a good idea. But you know, I need like some really smart people to help me. I want to take it and do like some different angles or whatever.
Were you at Towson when I think either Aaron got it. I don't know if Aaron got it when you were there, but the black box, the one where it's the forefoot and the rear foot can move independent of each other.
No.
Yeah, so like it's a device where you can you can lock in rear foot or forefoot, and then you can move one or the other, or you can have it where forefoot moves and then rear foot has to move in opposition, so you can get supination of one and pronation of the other.
Now that is interesting.
Yeah, no, I
What's it
thought
called?
it called the black box. It's a weird name for it, but I think it's
Yeah.
because so like the way it works is the bottom of it has these different Velcro pieces, and you lock it into place by putting different you Velcro on another piece of wood to then lock it in, so that way it can't move because it's either um, on the piece of on that wood there's three Velcro lines, one all the way on the left, one in the middle, one on the right. So you lock it by putting it on both, or you can lock the right side and now you're doing like rear foot inversion on one foot versus if you put it on the other side it's rear foot inversion, right? So
Hmm.
it's a pretty interesting device. I think you might enjoy.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up when we get done with this. I need to spend some money.
um, if you need to spend some money, you should also get a Strength Coach Network membership. Anybody else listening to this, you as well. Getting into the foot stuff as well, the applied functional science stuff. Are you
Mm-hmm.
still doing any of that?
Yes, I'm doing a lot of it. Just organizing it differently. Um, you know, when I got to Stanford, the guys, I just had like integrated into all the stuff. I could just throw it in the middle of something and do something. Our guys here need a little bit more structure. So it'll be like mobility, warm up block, movement block with AFS stuff, and then I build into like just pure sagittal. So where I used to program like sagittal plane movement with a frontal transverse plane with the mobility. Now I just kind of go sagittal through and then do all my mobility, all my 3D movement in the block right before or the block right after. If we have practice right after, I do it in a block right after. So they go to practice, they're opened up, ready to move. If we do it just in the morning, regular morning lift, I'll probably do it there, prepare them so they can move well within their lift. But yeah, I'm still into it. Uh, you know, I like to sound movement meathead because I like to move, but I also like to move weight. I think it's important though, like people don't get too far down the movement hole. They're like doing all this stuff and then they forget to train. So I like to strain under the bar and then we'll do our movement stuff as needed. Um, I've really gotten to lately just adding a bunch of speed into positions. It's been really dope to see the kids be able to do like lunges and matrices and different type of reaches with great speed and have control because obviously sport is excel and decel and moving to different planes. So anytime you go through open that sphere of movement, you're really doing some good stuff.
You still heavy into the Olympic lifts?
Yeah, I am. I love them. But you know, I'm a dinosaur. And I love the pull. I love a good heavy clean. The sound of a good jerk just makes me happy. It makes my soul smile. But with that being said, we haven't done an Olympic lift since I've been here.
Really?
Yeah, I am as adaptable as they are, and I think our guys needed a clean. Um, our guys needed a clean break from everything they'd done before. So we've done a ton of jumping, weighted jumping, ton of throws, ton of sprints. Um, we haven't even done a clean pull. Like you know me, like for me, like we haven't. We've done everything but that, and the guys have gotten better. And I think that reinforces to me um, being flexible with the population you work with, but also like there's no bad tool, just knowing when to use it, when not to use it, you know. And I didn't think with this team it was the appropriate tool. Um,
Taking a quick break from the show to talk to you about one of our sponsors, Vitruve VBT. With Vitruve, you can accurately measure what speeds your athletes are moving the bar. No longer do you have to program simply based on sets and reps. You can program for your more mature athletes based on the velocities that they are hitting. You can accurately measure at a great price with Vitruve, and you can have this integrate with your TeamBuildr, making it simple so you no longer have to write down the recorded reps from other devices. Everything in one place with Vitruve VBT. Check them out in the link down below.
will I do it one day? Maybe. Right now, I'm having fun watching them move heavyweight and run fast.
We had Matt Aldred up in Michigan, your old stomping grounds, at one point in time. He came on and we were talking about how, basketball players, they're playing all the time, right? Even like during the season and even during the week, like they typically don't have an off day. And he's like, yeah, I mean, but it's okay sometimes. Like maybe they just come in and shoot around because it's not that taxing and demanding. From somebody that's worked in basketball as long as you have, do you find that it actually like the kids don't need a day off because like it's part of their identity to come in and shoot around on one day? But is it again, as somebody that connects with the athletes, is it dangerous for them to put so much stock into, hey, I'm a basketball player and this is part of my life, and they don't go and do other things and hobbies? Like you write, you're writing books, you do poetry, you do other things. Like you're not just a strength coach.
Right. This is my personal opinion. I think they need a break. Like there are guys where I say, if I see you in this building, I'm kicking your ass out. Go do something else. Like because like psychologically, mentally, if you're in the same spot over and over and over again, we know it's like, when you're a strength coach and it's preseason and you're in camp for football and every day's Monday. Like every day. And think about it, you train the whole summer, you let the guys come in on Saturdays because they want to, right? And then like you're like, man, I'm so tired. But you asked to be there and you're still tired. So I'm like, hey, what are you gonna do outside of basketball this weekend? What are you gonna do? You going to the park, going to the zoo? Going to this, taking girlfriend to dinner, go do something else, get a different purview of something. And also, I think it's important because as someone who's around these dudes and been around them for a long time, you need social skills. The social skills you develop in a gym with 14 dudes are not the same social skills that you take into a high-level meeting and say, you sit at a table of people who are, upper echelon and you're trying to learn how to network in business. It's just not the same. You know what I mean? So, hey, go into one of those circles for a day. What's 15 hours of not being in the gym going to do for you other than clear your mind, teach you some other skills, try some other foods? So that is my personal opinion. As somebody who wants to win, the coach in me, have your ass in there, get as many shots as you possibly.
You talked about food. I remember you talking about food being cultural and getting coaches to understand that and dietitians. How do you respect that and getting kids to eat things and nutrients that they need to get?
Sneak it in when you can. And then, I try to challenge our guys to try one new food a month. Just something new. Sometimes it's a salad. Sometimes it's spinach. Sometimes put spinach in your smoothie. Then they realize that it doesn't have a taste and they just keep doing it. So now I've added something to the palate. Sometimes it's, believe it or not, we've had a kid where it's like steak. I don't like steak. Like, are you crazy? But depending on where you grew up, what your access to, you may not have had those things. When I was at Stanford, I had kids, we go out to dinner. Like, Want to do one Brussels sprouts, one more chicken tenders. So, you have to kind of meet them where they are. Nutrition isn't this like one size fits all thing. And I think me being from Louisiana is different too, because I grew up on my Cajun food. And so I like real Cajun stuff. And you have to kind of find and fit what meets their needs. And um, a lot of times they'll be really open to it if you do it with them.
Meaning like you literally eat it or you try new things?
You eat it with them. So like we had TeamBuildr today. And I don't like that. Come on, we'll take one bite. Well, let's just take one bite. We'll see what we feel. Do I really want to? Hell no. I'm old. I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? But if it gets you and you like it, like, bet, we got it. We got something new on the plan. But I find that a lot of time the best way to lead is by example.
Huh. And then how, as that strength coach doing that, like, how do you continue? I guess the question that people would be wondering is, how do you have that lineation of like, hey, I'm your coach, but I'm within you and relating to the coaches? Like, how do you play that, not game, but like, how do you just relate to them, relate to the coaches? Because as S&C coaches, we're there to serve the athletes, but we're also there to serve the coaches. How do you work that in your opinion?
I don't think I really try. I just kind of myself. But I do think within that, back to what we said earlier, it's a relationship. And I think sometimes people take relationships and make relationships different because who they are. And my last boss taught me this, and I will never forget it. He said, some people manage up, some people manage down. Some people do a great job managing up. That's your boss, and your boss's boss, your boss's boss's boss. But when you manage down, people who are below you, you treat them like crap. And so I treat everyone the same. Like I hadn't seen you in forever. I hugged you like I saw you yesterday. Like the one thing is I just don't change. There's a level of consistency to me that just never changes. That you're never gonna see like, oh yeah, Chat was with so and so and so. Man, I could be with Michael Jordan. I'm gonna treat you the exact same way. You know what I'm saying? It's just who I am. And when you talk about relationships, right? Relationships are built on consistency, communication, and trust. All right. And then the underlying factor of that, do I bring value to you? And so when I'm in, you can have a conversation and I can be consistent. You trust me, all of the things that they only bring value to your life as well. It makes it a lot easy. But what happens was like, hey, I'm gonna show coach how great I am. This is what I'm gonna do. He's gonna be so impressed. And you show him, he's like, man. You say it all the time, like, hey coach, I these force plate numbers. It is so and so and so and so. And he's like, uh-huh. That's the real world we lived in. I'm not
Correct.
knocking force plays. I love
Correct.
force plays, but like coaches is like, what does coach care about? Get them the metrics that he cares about. How does coach learn? Is it bar graphs? Is it charts? Is it talking? What's his learning style? What fits him? How do you educate him? Is he a visual learner, kinesthetic learner? How do you make it stick to him? What does he want to see? It's his program. It's his team. It's your job to be a consultant to help him through it.
Mm.
Now, this is something that's really important that you have to understand, and I've done it several times. In this process, you will jump on many grenades for your team, right?
Yeah.
Don't get off the grenade because he's mad at you. He's going to respect it at the end of the day if you're right. So I jumped on lots of grenades at Towson, brother. Lots of grenades. But, the guys respected it. And sometimes they do need an off day. Sometimes they do need a down day. Sometimes they do need that. And sometimes coaches need to get out the gym too so they can refresh themselves because seeing Billy suck at the same drill for 24 days in a row wears on their brain too. One thing I do with every head coach I've worked with from my career is I was like, how are you doing today? Like, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
And I think as being a head strength coach and like in the role I was in, people only come to you with issues and requests. Hey, how are you doing today? What can I do for you? You need anything? That goes so long to recognize, once again, the person that is the coach. And so it's an investment and return, investment and return, investment and return. And then once they see that you're invested in their team and you give them quality information consistently, now you've built trust. So now you go, hey, coach, I really think tomorrow needs to be a light day. He can say, okay. Or say, hey, coach, like, you really don't go hard enough. And he's like, okay. And for me, I'm here to serve and help everyone. So I'm not in the meeting with the assistant saying, "You shut up, I got the answers." I'm literally like, "Hey man, like, hey,
I don't
what
think
can I
that
do
is
for you?"
ever would ever come out of your mouth.
No, exactly. So it's like, hey, it's like, wait, what do you guys need? How can I help you guys best today? He's like, oh, that individual was so and so and so. Okay, well, okay. So like, what can I do for you? This is what I noticed with so and so. Okay, he learns best this way. He really struggles with this. He's lacking in these areas, energy system wise. Maybe if you put your workout together, just think about these two things. Maybe get high pace, 3 to 4 minute blocks with lots of movement. When he's in his positions on the block, just really give some cues as to like where his body position is. So like not so much like when you get low, he's dropping his chest as low his hips because he just gets those two things confused. That goes a long way. Flip side, I'm in the staff, I'm in the offices almost every day. So when coach picks up, he's like, "Hey, we got this kid recruiting from Zimbabwe. I've already watched the film. I know how he moves. Da da da. If anyone asks, I can tell. Hopefully, they don't ask. But I'm in the world and I'm living it real time with them, and I'm not like the weight room guy over here and over here. I've heard some guys like, if this was my team, no, it is your team. Our job is to keep and build culture. Whatever culture the head coach has built, you want to try to keep it. All right. If there's been none built, sometimes you got to help install it. And it's not, and when you say install, it's not you saying I'm installing the culture that I want. Hey coach, what matters to you? Okay, these things matter. You go, this is the message we appreciate it. And so I think those are kind of how I've done that with coaches in the education piece. And in the preseason, like right now, I'm in a new job, so I'm trying to figure out how it goes. Like me and my head coach at my last job had a relationship, so it's really hard to not be with him because I have so much respect for him as a man. But I knew how he talked, I knew his language, I knew how he learned. Right, so I'm learning this all again. So I'm putting together preseason reports and pre-game practice reports, and like which one resonates best with you. Which one do you like? What don't you like? What do you like? Okay, you don't like this? Cool. What don't you care? What do you care about? And like we're rough drafting that situation instead of coming in, hey, I got these 7 metrics. If you do this, I promise this is going to happen. All right. I'm a firm believer. Anyone who speaks in absolutes is probably always wrong. And so that's kind of my deal with how I educate my people.
Taking a quick break from the show to talk to you about one of our sponsors, Sleepme. Sleepme are the makers of the Chilipad, which has been my bed cooling device since 2020. Chilipad will allow you to sleep and not wake up hot anymore. This was something that I had to worry about. I used to have the air conditioning down way too low. Now, I don't have to have the air conditioning as low because my Chilipad, my Dock Pro, keeps my bed cold at night. Check out Sleepme, check out the Chilipad, check out the Dock Pro in the link down below.
What if anybody listening to you right there is like, oh, okay, that's easy for you, chat. You work with basketball. You only have 15 guys, and it's easy for you to be able to have that intricate conversation. Like, what if I worked in football and I have 120 athletes? What would be your response to somebody saying that?
When I was at Penn State, I had field hockey, track and field, men's volleyball, women's ice hockey, and something else. And I did that with every coach. So I'm sure that's more athletes when you add them up to football. And it's different sports, so different things. And obviously, football, you have a staff of 5. It should be easy. I mean, let's be honest. Like, when you break down coach to player ratio, you should be able to get that done, even if you trust your staff. But I think it's one of the say the FaceTime is money. So how much time you spend? How much time you spend the face of your coach? Well, I was going to believe you. Like, hey, I can be up there and talking to you because I have to be on this player. You got 5 minutes to scoot upstairs and do that instead of whatever you're going to do because it matters in the long run. So when you work hard. When you break harder. And to me, that's how I've done it. Maybe some people don't have the bandwidth to do it. I don't think it's anything special, so I think anyone can do it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And like you said, if you trust your staff, then okay, sure, maybe you don't see every single thing when you have that many athletes, but if you're talking with your staff about things, then they can relay it to you, and then you can relay it to the coaching staff. And if anything, it helps your assistants because if you're in that staff meeting, you're like, hey, Johnny, my assistant, said that Sally's doing good. You know what I mean? Because then it helps the coaching staff be like, oh, well, the assistants know what's going on too, and they're helping support. So that way, if other people leave, it now helps your staff get a chance to move on.
And I think that the most important part of being a director, not that you asked, but have I prepared you to be a director? I don't think in the time that we worked together I ever asked you, hey, what are you doing over there? Why like do your thing? If you need support, come in. I got you. I help you, whatever you need. But like they put you in a position to shine. Kind of like when we did that meeting with the catapult stuff.
Yeah.
Like I didn't go up there with your presentation. I sat there and I said, Justin, go talk to this stuff right there. And I sat back and I was like, yeah. And then I think it was me, you, and Aaron up there. Like, I let both of y'all talk. And I was like, I know it's useful. I know we need the money. These are the brains. Let them go with it. You know what I'm saying? Put good people in position, let them do their jobs.
How do you best then recommend anybody that's listening, like, because you had been director of, bigger departments, not just smaller sports, what is the way then to give them advice? Like if you're running a department and they want to go to a bigger department or do things that you did or help their staff, like what are the best methodologies as a mentor that you would give to other coaches that are directors?
I think direct conversations as to what you're good and what you're bad at. I think everyone's very comfortable coming and say I don't want to do X, Y, and Z, whatever. I think there's something really valuable to being hey man, Justin, like you're elite over here, but you lack a little bit over here. If you can get this other side shut up, you're gonna really develop over time. Um, Whether some people are really good structure holders, but not great programmers. So it's the other way around. And so then once we figure out what that deficiency is, we put together a personal development plan or the steps we're going to take to get better at that thing. We're going to meet on it periodically. I mean, you can speak to it and everybody on that staff. I wasn't in my office door because I watched a ton of y'all's lifts. I would just watch. I watched number one because it was my job, but number two because I want to help you guys out. You know what I'm saying? So like, what's being seen? How is it being perceived? Because sometimes we do stuff, and we're not even aware of how it's being perceived by others, right? And so hey, like, hey man, I know what you mean by this. I see you. But someone who doesn't know just walks in, they see this. Maybe just change our approach and how we go about it. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but perception is reality in so many cases, especially when people don't know who you are. They don't care to learn that deeply. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of my one thing. And then I thought for me, building a family environment was everything. I wanted it to be like a tribe where wives, girlfriends, kids, it was like home away from home. Come on through. The weight room was a jungle gym of sorts. And the kids have a fun time and you could see your family and not feel like you're completely disconnected. Um, so that was kind of my style of it. But also, me, like I would always in every staff meeting was like, 51% of all decisions. So if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. So like, there's that side of it too. But yeah.
How do you respect the family style? Because I've heard people say before, like, we're not a family, we're a team. And because that way, like, within, you can't choose your family and you're always going to have your family's back. But as a team, there might be, like, how do you handle that? Because that there is that reality too.
Of what? The family piece of it?
Yeah, like, hey, we're not a family. We are just a team because if you, like, okay, you had an opportunity to advance your career and go on to Stanford. Like, as a family, you're not like, oh, hey, bye, mom. Like, your brother's still your brother. Your mom's still your
Yeah.
mom. Like, how do you respect that, but still try to build that family aspect of it within a staff and within a team? Because you want that family unity, but at the same time, okay, maybe 20 years down the road, these kids aren't talking to each other. But does that also happen within families? Like, this is a conversation that Megan and I have had. Like, so that's why I'm asking you about it.
Yeah. So when you think about a family, right? You have disagreements. You have art. You have good times. You have bad times. You move away. You come back. But the one thing that's always so there's like have the best what's best and interest for you, the best interest for you in mind. So hey man, like, damn, I don't want to lose you, but you gotta go. Go ahead, and I'm gonna support you where you are. Hey, I gotta leave. I'm gonna leave, but hey, when I leave, I want to leave it in a place where everybody can be successful and be safe. Or it was always centered around what's doing best for the other people around you, in my mind. And I think if that's the case, it's hard to have any ill will or feelings. Now, the families have rifts and not talk for a little while. Yeah, but at the end of the day, you realize my brother loved me, my sister loved me. You can go back to it and you can move forward. That doesn't mean there's never going to be issues. It just means that there's something deeper there than the issue. Whereas sometimes when you're part of a team, like, I ain't passing the ball. Nope. You know what I'm saying? As a family, I'm not passing the ball. But you know what? At the end of this, we sat and we talked it out because we really cared about each other. And I think to me, when I was there, that's the approach that I took. Everyone was treated like I was an equal opportunity asshole at times. But I feel like all of y'all knew at the end of the day that if y'all needed something, I had your back 100%.
It's funny like, as equal opportunity asshole because that reminds like okay the Doyle thing like I mean he could be a dick to any of us like but it was different like you weren't. I mean, yeah, sure. There were some times where I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, why can't he just tell us what he's so damn mad about so we could like get to the bottom of it? But you don't know all the story.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the hard part. Sometimes you can't say everything
How
because it's
hard is
like,
that though? Right? Because like there was times like where you're like, man, just tell us the full story and let us help. But like, if you're in these upper level meetings with like, really, why can't you just tell us? Like again, as somebody that I'm like, I'm not
yeah,
gonna. I'm here for the betterment of everybody. Just tell us.
sometimes it is hard when uh, minor issue becomes major because who's involved, and now certain things have to stay divulged, and you can't really speak out, but you have to deal with the issue of sorts. And so as you get further down the line, you can deal with it. But that's business in any world. I mean,
True.
how you think? What do you mean? That's just the business world. It is what it is, and um, if you're savvy and you're smart, you can fix the problem without always having to deal directly with say it directly. Now, my personality is to be more direct and say, you quit being this or quit doing that. But yeah, it's a difficult situation. And I think I have much respect for every strength conditioning coach from junior high level through whatever level you can get to because it's a hard, thankless job where people only talk to you when it's bad. When it's good, it's like in passing. But I'm not in this because I love money, but like just pay me. Don't tell. Just pay me. Like the thanks was cool. Just pay me, bro. Like like hey, you did such a good job. We appreciate you so much. And then it comes time for raises, and then your staff gets 5 cents. No. Like put your money where your mouth is. Support these people who are working their behinds out for you. And so that's kind of how I always looked at it. So I wanted to make life as easy for you guys as possible.
Taking a quick break from the show to talk to you about one of our sponsors, Powerlift. Powerlift is located here in Iowa in the United States of America. I've utilized them back in 2011 when I had them at Harvard. I also had them at the University of Maryland, and then finally when I was at the University of Iowa. Their equipment is strong, it is durable, it is dependable. It's also customizable based upon whatever your needs are at your school. Check out Powerlift at the link down below.
Have speaking of life being easy, if there's been times in your career where you've had an injury bug, whatever you want to call it, right? There's times in the stock market where it goes up, there's times where it goes down, and there's not always a rhyme or reason. Same thing with health. You can do all the right things and bad things happen. You can do all the wrong things and good things happen. Has there been a time in your career where there's been a ton of injuries, either you did or didn't get blame, and it was difficult? And how did you deal with it? Because I know I went through it in 2019. So any of our listeners, like maybe they're going through it. What did
Yeah.
you do? How did you get through it so they can do it?
Um, Great question. Um, I have been through those times when you're doing checking every box. We had one. I had one year where I had a kid pop something in his foot walking. Like literally, he walked, and you're like, "Holy crap!" So you're like, "Man," you start looking back at all your notes. What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? And you get to the point where you can't fix everything, right? Um, and you want to do as much as you can to be proactive on the front side. But the hardest thing from that is, like honestly, like what could you have done? As I gotten older in my career, one thing I've noticed: the people who feel like that, those are the people I want to work with. Those people I want on staffs that I have. Those people I want to deal with because those people care. Because I don't know people who work in the athletic environment, people get hurt and they're like, oh, next man up, step over. You know, like this is the real world. But like the fact that you care that much, that deeply, is so important because that means you're going to think 3-4 times when you program next time to do everything you can to make sure that happens again, doesn't happen again, even if you can't prevent it. But I think it's just like working through it and talking through it and not beating yourself up. And there's a ton of mental health stuff out there for athletes. And this is one of my biggest beefs with athletics and the CYA world we live in. The mental health of your staff and your coaches is so important. They work hours. Coaches on the road recruiting back and forth, coming home to see their kids, and their strength coaches are in the facility nonstop, spending more time with other kids and their kids, forgetting what day it is because they're working so hard. I'm looking forward to the day when universities invest as much in staff mental health as they do kid mental health, because the staff that they sometimes neglect to take care of is the one taking care of the mental health of those kids. And I think that's something that's very, very, very much so overlooked. And I'm actually really happy because we had a meeting here for the first time in my career at LSU. We had a mental health thing and they had a slide that said your mental health matters too. And I was like, I've never seen this in 12 years. I've never seen it before, right? You just get up and grind and go and go and go and go and go. And if we decide to feed you, we feed you. If we decide to pay you more, we don't. But like there's so much that goes into what you do. Even when you're not at work, you're at work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not a person that's always like beating the mental health drum as like out there like waving the mental health flag, but I do recognize the importance of it and the importance of everyone around a team to make it healthy. Because you ever seen a team with a miserable coach? They usually are miserable. Ever seen a team train a miserable strength coach? They usually hate being in the weight room. Because when you're like that, you're like every little thing. He didn't squat the parallel. Oh God, the world is coming down now. You know what I mean? Like like that's what it gets down to. You know what I'm saying? Because you're just tired. So, but yeah, that's my answer to that. Sorry, that was a ramble.
Based off of that, how do you, the question I wrote down here was, how do you have fun but still recognize the seriousness of what we do? Because if athletes don't, like, you can seriously hurt athletes in the weight room with movements, squatting, running, conditioning, whatever, but also it is really fun. Like, how do you handle that duality?
I think that comes down to that culture piece at the beginning. Cultures are very between the two of you, how we're going to operate. So once we get our structure in place at the very beginning, how we do things, how we go about it, how we move around the room, hey, I want to see you dancing in between sets. I want to see you laughing and talking. I want to see that party because, like, let me ask you this. What's the last place you went to that you smiled, laughed, and danced that you didn't want to come back to?
Ooh. That's a great point. Like, that doesn't really happen. Like, you want to go back there.
Yeah. Now, when you touch that bar, you butt turn to a dog, right? When you get off that thing, let's celebrate that. You have fun. You hype your people up. And I think that is the piece. Like, once you touch that bar, you are locked in. When you step back, let's celebrate. Let's have some fun in here. And it creates an environment of genuine enthusiasm, not an environment of fake rah-rah. Like, when you come in the weight room, how many times you've never heard me like clapping and stomping around? But there's a moment, and I'll send the video to you if you want to put it in this. I don't remember this. Baseball was maxing out one day, and Joe has them in the middle of the floor, and they are as hype as can be.
Give the heat.
And Joe gives them the heat, and it is the coolest moment because, like, I'm standing on top of her. I'm sorry, bitch. Everybody's out there, but it was genuine.
Yeah,
it wasn't blowing the whistles and getting them hyped. There was no hyping them up. They were already going. We just caught the moment. And so I would love to live in those type of moments, if that makes any sense.
It does. And so this question is like a little personal for me because when I was leaving Towson, like the coaching staff, that's not like the new coaching staff, it was like, you have to jog everywhere and be so serious. And it was a little bit more fabricated. Like, how do you that was difficult for me. And maybe there's other strength coaches that it's difficult for them to live in it, because I personally subscribe to the same belief as you. How do you navigate that in a best way possible, where you're still doing your job and doing it really well for the coaches and the athletes?
Keeping your certification is essential to staying hired as a strength and conditioning coach. Both of our long form courses, Fundamentals 1 and Fundamentals 2, offer CEUs to the NSCA, the NCSF, as well as the ASCA professional development points. Click the link down below to learn more about our education courses, which are both over 20 hours long and allow you to learn from some of the best practitioners in the field of strength and conditioning.
I think you have to understand where they're coming from.
Like, what would be your advice? Like, let's say we were working back together again, and that's where I was working. I'm like, hey, chat, like, this is just not me. It's how do I navigate this?
Yeah, I think I would have told you to be flexible, because the guy's coming in. He's trying to get his culture established. He has his opinion of what happened before or after. He's trying to get it going, and a lot of times when we do that, we hold the reins really tight. Right. Yeah. But in my experience, just from changing job to job, and I've had to do that several different times in my career. You usually have a couple months, few weeks of that. And then after they see that you have the control of the room and things are fine, they let you go. But coming in, not knowing you, not understanding you, whatever, they don't know. Right. So this is how they know it should be. So you kind of do it, and then you mix your little stuff in with it, and you kind of build it, and you take what you believe in, what they believe in, you mesh it together. And then sometimes that's harder and easier said than done. But I believe that flexibility, and I think it makes that flexibility and ability to do that helps you grow over time, because you're going to change jobs from person to person, from head coach to coach. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that requires a change in your personality. Like the coach I was at Towson, I was not at Stanford. Of sorts. I had to dial it. When I first got to Stanford, I had to dial that thing way. Like you saw, like
I also remember what you said that the kid said about you.
Yeah, like I had to dial it. I had to dial that thing way back. You know what I mean? And then now coming here, I'm going to be more like I was at Towson. But like to be honest, by the time I left Stanford, I was acting the same exact way I was at Towson. They had adjusted. You know what I mean? And they got used to it. So once again, it's that consistency that really, really matters. But it's hard, because it's like you feel like, hey, I've been here, I'm doing the job, I know what I'm doing. And the coach is like, yeah, you've been here, you're doing the job, you're here, but like this is my job, like this is me now. And so they're trying to put their stamp on it. Yeah. And so I think you have to be understanding sometimes where you're going, what they're coming from as well, and appease them and give them what they need too, until you ultimately gain that trust. And then once you get that trust, man, he's great. He has it.
Last question that I'll ask to respect your time. What would be like the last kind of stamp of, sticking your flag in this episode of like last message that you want strength coaches to take away from hearing you talk for the last hour? Like what's your overall message to all strength coaches, older, younger, whatever field they're in?
It doesn't matter what you do. It matters how you do it. It matters how you impact lives, how you gain the trust of people you work with, and ultimately how you bring success and support others around you. And I think that is, if you can find those things and get those things done, it's impossible to lose, because you become a team player that's producing results. And that's what this whole game is about.
That's a mic drop, folks. That's where we're going to end this episode. I appreciate you for taking the time to talk with us and educate everybody, man. You have a great rest of your day, brother.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.